Hi everyone, my name is Esther Martinez and my presentation is on homicide and violence. Also, for a little disclaimer, I do have pets at my house. Um, I have 3 birds and 1 cat. So if you hear them meowing or chirping, even screaming, please ignore that. I apologize in advance. So yeah, what are homicides? Homicide is the deliberate and unlawful killing by one person to another. Types of homicide include murder, justifiable homicide, manslaughter, first and second degree murder, and so on. Why homicide? In other words, why did I pick this topic? I think that since we are taking a criminology class, which studies both crime and criminals, you might get this question in the future at your job, assuming you're going to be a police officer or someone working in the criminal justice system. And they might ask you, or you might even ask yourself, why do people kill? Why are people so violent? Although you might not be, you still will work with people who are violent, who do kill. And it's just really a good question. It's one of the biggest areas of crime, homicide. And in my presentation, I will look more into homicide in criminology and discover how criminologists use social sciences and theorize why people commit crimes. Primary reference: Why They Kill is a film that I found on demand at the BRCC library page. It's really interesting and you get to learn more about people like Bloomer, Athens, and Mead. All are philosophers, sociologists, or criminologists, and they help you understand, their ideas help you understand why people kill, including violent and aggressive behaviors. And one of them that I found interesting was in kids, and an experiment that they've done in here was on babies. And not saying that babies are aggressive, but any baby who cries after the mom leaves the room, and when the mom comes back, if the baby is still crying or throwing a fit, that signifies that they will become an aggressive child, aggressive teen in the future. And although that does not mean that they're going to kill someone 100% every time, it's still a cool idea. And that gets me thinking about the 5 things I want to learn throughout this presentation. So 5 things I want to learn are causes direct of certain groups, economic factors leading to violence, different types of theories on violence/homicide, including social interactionalism and social sciences. Also, what are phantom communities? And I found this really interesting because it's something that I learned. I didn't even know what phantom communities are, and I'm not sure that's the correct term for it, but Lonnie Athens, that's what he refers to them as, so that's how I will refer to them as well. Who is George Herbert Mead? How does his belief help us understand homicide and assumptions on contemporary theories and offenders? So, first, causes, groups, economic factors leading to violence. Obviously, we have the basics: men, women, and children. We have the types: assault, batter, rape, and so on. And here's a question that I want you guys to think about. Are people born violent, and does that make sense? So what does this mean? So, theories about religions, ideologies, and every discipline in science that touch on human behaviors offer answers that settle on moral, supernatural, behavioral, social, neurological, and genetic causes. If the cause rests with some groups or economic factors, the sheer number of exceptions casts doubt since not all resort to violence. Okay. So, not everyone who becomes a violent person will murder. And obviously we know that violence differs from group to group, culture to culture, and age to age. Theories on violence, homicide, social interactionalism, perspective method, and social sciences. We have two: social sciences and symbolic interactionalism, perspective method. So first is the founder Herbert Bloomer. It helps seek understand behaviors from the perspective of those who participate or are part of the activity. So an aggressive person who kills someone, we're going to learn their perspective, or people who help them, so an accomplice. So social sciences help understand correlations and percentage of a population that will become criminals. So if 0.01% of people out of 100 murder, we don't want to know, or we don't care that they will murder. We want to know what happened and why. So what affects that small percentage? And even if they do, the scientists and criminologists, they don't want to know that there's a definite yes that they will, because obviously we know that there's always a certain amount of people who will commit murder, but they don't care about that. They want to know why and where did this go wrong, what happened. And that just gets us to Mead's ideas. George Herbert Mead is an American philosopher and sociologist. He is one of the founders of symbolic interactionalism and the Chicago sociological tradition. Mead's theories of symbolic interactionalism help individuals understand how we interact with one another to create symbolic worlds, and in each of these worlds help shape individual behaviors. So if you see at this photo that I posted up on here, you will see that there's a little girl, and what seems like her parents and her grandmother. And it's a three-way mirror. Now think about this. This symbolizes something. When you look at yourself in the mirror, you expect to see yourself, right? Interestingly enough, in this photo, the little girl does not see her own reflection. She sees other people's reflections. And this emphasizes that crime and deviance, like most other human behavior, are socially constructed through interactions. So if your grandma thinks you're a crazy teen, you're going to believe that you're a crazy teen, or you'll start getting that ideas about yourself, even if they're not true. And this goes with Lonnie Athens, the criminologist, his ideas on phantom communities. So before starting this project, I had no idea what phantom communities are, but it's basically everything that is said to us, even things that we say to ourselves, flow through an internal speaker. Lonnie Athens refers to this, the internal speakers, as our phantom communities. And they follow us without our knowing, and we go through life, and as we go through life, we get feedback from the world and judge it through the perspective of our phantom communities. Interesting. So let's just go back to this photo. So the little girl, she has interactions with her parents and her grandma, and of course, people at school, people on the bus, and so on. Her ideas about herself might not be right. So, if everyone keeps telling her that she's ugly or that has anger issues, even if she does not or she doesn't realize this about herself, eventually she will have these problems. And that is her phantom community. And when she acts violent, it's not because she's acting violent just because she's a violent person and she wants to. It's because when we act violent, our phantom communities don't give us that direction and we are overwhelmed. And I think that's a really interesting idea. Assumptions of contemporary theories and offenders. There are many of assumptions that people have on violence and murder. And there's a whole bunch of contemporary theories. Violent people usually are surrounded by violence in their life, especially in their childhood. Sometimes the lack of discipline contributes to this as well. Okay, so parents. Let's say your parents are arguing every single day. And maybe there's a dad who is really aggressive and he beats the mom in front of the child. And now the child thinks, since they're surrounded by this, hey, this is normal. So when they grow up, it's just a pattern. And you see that pattern throughout their whole life. So the child thinks, hey, dad hits mom. It's okay to hit women. He hits his wife in the future, and then the pattern just continues. Now let's say that mom and dad, instead of teaching their child, hey, this is not right, they just go with it. And whenever he gets in trouble in school, when he's acting out, they have a lack of discipline. Athen explains that there is no such thing as a senseless murder. Murder is never senseless through the murderer's point of view. And he insists that they know what they are doing when they act. Interestingly, this kind of contradicts with Athen's own ideas on phantom communities, because he said that when you act violent, you are overwhelmed by your phantom communities because they don't give you directions. But now he says that they know what they're doing and murder is never senseless. This just goes to show that sociologists and scientists have not even found a definite answer to why people kill or even why people act violent. Some ideas